The game is tied 1-1. It's the 95th minute and Brighton win a corner. There's a melee in the penalty box and Anthony does an amazing job in winning the ball, or so he thinks so. 3 United players follow suit and leave their defensive positions. The loose ball, falls to Van Hecker instead of Menu, who is a few centimeters to his right. Adingra wins the ball back with a brilliant cross, finds João Pedro, a dreadlocked dagger, breaks United hearts and wins the game for Brighton in the 95th minute. But you know what? I'm being a bit rude and a bit mean to United. It wasn't a 4-0 drubbing this time. Brighton really played well, but United were able to break their press. It looked like Man United had their own identity at times.
I mean, speaking of a team that had a newfound identity, welcome to the 3rd episode of EyeTest FC Hat-Trick Heroes. And coming to our first hero of the day, Madueke. Now, what a surprise. Chelsea, much better than last week. Looked very comfortable with the ball. A few defensive mistakes, conceded the 2 goals. But overall, Palmer, superb again. You could see the kind of football that they want to play. I think regardless of the players in the squad, Maresca has jotted down who he wants to have in the squad, which is very important. You can already see the signs of improvements. Madueke also a good hat-trick. But coming to our second hat-trick hero, who had a much superior 3 goals, I would say, was Erling Haaland. Just what a game, right? Give away 1 goal as a gift. Like what was that?
Welcome to the Premier League, Ipswich.
Yeah, Liverpool and then City. That's a tough start. Who's making the fixtures? But they gave away that goal and then they just looked like such a superior side. And they could have scored 7 goals. Like Rico Lewis could have easily scored a goal, hit the bar, shattered the bar. De Bruyne had hit the post. Haaland with an incredible header, incredible save from the keeper. But yeah, City looked like City.
I think that game, it just feels so normalized. I mean, at some point you get numb to City's dominance. That's just the word, right? So let's move on to what else happened in the Premier League this week. Leicester lose to Arsenal. The goals were made at the Hay line from Emil Smith-Rowe and Alex Iwobi.
Let's tell people that they lost to Fulham.
They actually lost Fulham. It feels weird seeing Smith-Rowe in a Fulham shirt. I really hope he does well and smashes it there. Deserves it all.
Tottenham beat Everton 4-0. I don't know how happy that makes you, but that gives me great pleasure.
Yeah, I think apart from that, Bournemouth were robbed of 2 points.
Yeah, against Newcastle.
Against Newcastle, they were robbed of 2 points. And I've noticed this with Stuart Atwell and Chris Kavanagh. Significantly more than anyone else. Bournemouth was a better team and they should have won that game. But I want to talk about something else somehow. Like, why are we doing the eye test? Right? Like, what is the eye test for? Why is it so important? And a lot of football stats folks are going to talk about a metric called XG, or expected goals. And XG, for those who don't know, is effectively the probability that every time a shot is taken, it would go in the goal or not. So for example, if a team achieves 4 XG at the end of a game and they end up scoring only 2 goals, that means they have underperformed. And if they have scored 6, that means they've overperformed. Simple as.
Nunez underperforming every single time. But yeah.
And that's why he's rated so highly, because he gets into those positions to take shots. So Samad, I want to give you 2 examples of XGs this past week in the Premier League, right? Game 1, 2.31 versus 1.83. Okay? 2.31 versus 1.83. Game 2, 1.92 versus 1.56. So guess which were these 2 games?
I know that I had read that Chelsea had less than 2. So I think the second game was probably Chelsea Wolves. The first one, I think I would probably go Spurs Everton.
No, the first one was Bournemouth Newcastle, and it's bizarre because this game finished 1-1 and it had a higher cumulative XG than a game that finished 2-6.
That's really surprising, man. But then I think that should just show you, right, like how important watching a game is, and like how like XG can be so deceiving. But speaking of XG also, like if you look at the Watkins miss, that would have garnered them like what, 0.85, point 0.9 XG. And I personally feel like if he scores that and that's 1-0 to Villa, that's an entirely different game.
True. And that just goes to show how defense wins you titles. And David Raya, for the last two games, even this game, has been outstanding. Not only that save from a Watkins header, but the initial shot to like put it on the post was incredible. And I think he really stood out and caught my eye this game. Saliba was also back to his usual Rolls Royce self. And it's very rare for me to actually notice an away team performer who played as well as Morgan Rogers did. I think he ran the show against Arsenal. All the eyes were on Watkins and Bailey before the game. There was a huge debate about Bailey versus Zinchenko, Bailey versus Timber, whoever started. Both of them were relatively quiet. Watkins was hooked after 60 minutes. But Morgan Rogers really turned against so many players, like in midfield, countless times. Onana had a good game, but I think Morgan Rogers was right there. I'm sure if he continues performances like this, he's going to have a big club knocking on his door very soon.
But I think the player, in my opinion, that caught my eye, this time in a negative sense, because we're speaking of Villa players, was Emi Martinez. I think the game was lost through two goals that should not have been goals. Like if I look at the Trossard one, it resembles like a shot that Diaz took for Liverpool, and the keeper saved it because it was a relatively routine save. And the party goal was even worse. Like even though the scoreline suggests like it was a comfortable Arsenal win, I think it was anything but that. I think playing against like Unai Emery at Villa Park is always a very hard game in recent years, definitely. And good one for Arsenal. Like that's a very tough nut to crack, and it's good to get it out of the way so soon. Yeah, this was 0 out of 6 last year against Villa, and Arsenal lost the title by 2 points. So very important game to win early on in the season, as you said. Going to another 2-0 win. Your Liverpool team again has been head to head with Arsenal. 2-0 wins for both our teams. Yeah. 0 goals conceded. 0 goals conceded. How do you feel? I feel good. I feel like it was a very comfortable performance compared to the one last week. I think this was very smooth throughout. And you know what I would like to highlight? The player that caught my eye, and this might sound very strange because most people wouldn't have noticed him, was Virgil van Dijk. And the reason I say this is because the true mark of a great defender is when you don't even know that they're defending. It's not about making those flashy tackles or those goal line clearances or, coming in the spotlight. A good defender is the one that makes the game extremely boring for the opposition. And I think that's exactly what he did. And speaking of his record, right? 100 games at Anfield, 98 unbeaten. 98. Now that's a wall. Like that is truly, truly commendable. And I think speaking in this area as well, I think compared to Klopp, right? If we were 2-0 up at the death of the game, till the 95th minute or whatever time is added on, Liverpool are looking for the third. I think in this game, once we got the second, or at least once we were in the final cusp of the game, Liverpool played very boring. Like Liverpool were not going for the third. And he subbed off a Trent, he subbed off a Salah, he subbed off. I know where you're going with that. But I mean, I like that a player is unhappy that he's subbed off. Like, I don't mean to go back to the Arsenal game, but when Trossard came on the pitch, he was angry. He didn't celebrate. He was just annoyed. Like, I noticed Arteta and him didn't shake hands after the game. But the fact that it's Trent, I think he's, English player, superstar, Real Madrid are knocking. I think this also has a bit of drama and spice to the game. I mean, the media love to stir it up, right? But I feel like it was a bit childish from Trent. I think the reason Slot is doing this is because Trent didn't have a full preseason. Bradley is a good kid. Like, give him a chance, let him have those 15, 20 odd minutes. But yeah, to see that hunger, to see that aggression, I think he's just going to come back stronger next game, right? Like, it's good that players are aggressive, but it's important to do it in the dressing room. I think to do it in a public sense just stirs up stories that are not required.
Yeah, it's just drama that doesn't need to be.
So yeah, 2-0 victories. I'm happy. You're
I'm happy.
Now coming to our brand new segment, the eye test this week. So the first question is, who is your player of the week?
I'm going to go with Morgan Rogers.
Okay, fair enough. I'll still pretty safe pick, but I'll go Erling Haaland. I think it's very normalized, but it was still an incredible
Yeah.
hat-trick.
What about your team of the week?
The only thing that makes me happier than a United defeat is an Everton thrashing. So I think I would go for Spurs.
I think Arsenal to win at Villa Park is a statement, but my team of the week is Man United. No, I'm serious. I think they showed real good signs of progress. I know it's a loss. I don't want to talk about a game with losses and wins. It's a game of fine margins. And I think United in this defeat showed a very different side to the game than a United loss in last season.
That's very, very mighty of you. I could not be that guy. What's your game of the week?
Wolves Chelsea.
Yeah, I think agreed over
I
there.
think that's a unanimous bet, right?
Fair enough.
Goal of the week?
Goal of the week, I just think the technique that Palmer used, like I love those kinds of goals. Like it was almost like a little like Firmino Suarez-esque, where like you get that ball and like the first touch you were able to like completely chip that over the keeper and score that. I'm not saying it's the hardest goal in the world, but I just love the technique, man.
It's also a great FIFA goal to score.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, I think for me it's Haaland's third.
Okay.
I think the skill in like just turning and shooting.
Just a force of nature.
Yeah.
Then we have the surprise of the week. I think the surprise of the week definitely Madueke. Like every Chelsea fan is surprised. Like who is this guy that's come and scored in a hat-trick? But yeah.
You know, I actually saw Madueke live.
Oh.
For PS3 Eindhoven against Arsenal when they played in the Europa League. Amazing game. But my surprise this week was Wolves' capitulation. I think that second half, I didn't expect them to play that way. They really fought back in the first half from being a goal down twice. They even had like a goal ruled out for offside. Cunha had a goal ruled out for offside. And in the second half, they conceded. But the goals they conceded also felt like, keeper mistakes a little bit. One of a deflection, one between the keeper's legs. And it made the scoreline look bad, but they didn't have anything in them, even after those goals. And I was a bit disappointed by that. Even Gary O'Neill apologized to the fans for that performance. So, yeah, I expected much better of them because I felt they played better against Arsenal the previous week than losing 6-2 to Chelsea this week.
Fair enough. And now the biggest question. What's your EyeTest FC Play of the week?
Play of the week. I think it's also a pretty unanimous one, and I kind of feel you agree to it. It was the Salah no goal.
Dude, holy shit.
What was that, man?
It was incredible. Like, just again, the diagonal to Salah. Such a world-class first touch. Into Trent to Salah, Salah to Szoboszlai, back to Salah, Salah to Jota to McAllister, and then the defender clears it. But it reminded me of the Wilshere goal.
Yeah.
It was like very, very Wilshere-esque.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you've watched it a few 10 times.
Oh, definitely, definitely more than that. But when I saw it live, right, it was just so awestruck. And it's possession-based football. I think that's exactly what Slot wants to do.
Yeah, you can see that already in 2 games, which is incredible, huh?
For sure. So that's about it. So that's the 3rd episode of the EyeTest FC. Next week, now there's the game coming up. United versus Liverpool at Old Trafford. The Red Cartel Derby. It really doesn't get any bigger than this. Just make sure the United team knows. Man, I hope that doesn't come back to bite me. But see you guys next week.